Shalom. I want to start out by giving all honor, all glory, all praise to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rokaha, Kwadash. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, and double honors to the elders, prophets, and teachers who rule well and taught us this 100% true. Now, I'm going through a video that one of the beloved Akim shared, and this was a very yappa video, man. The dude went into a lot of, information, or he went into a lot of issues that's in the so-called black community, right? And he said some things in the beginning that were a little off, but that all goes into separating the meat from the bone, which we're going to try to do, right? And we're going to get into this video, and we're going to grab some precepts to go with it, right? And let's just jump straight into it.
If I could remove two things from black culture right now, it would have to be group thinking and emotional decision making for starters.
Now, group thinking, right? That's not really going against any scriptures, because that's you got to remember that Israel is likened unto sheep. So as long as you're as long as you're group thinking is based on the doctrine, you're actually fine with group thinking, right? Right. And I got this. Groupthink is a psychological phenomena that occurs when a group prioritizes consensus over individual action, right? Often resulting in a lack of creativity and personal responsibility, which is bullshit, right? Let's draw down to examples. An example of groupthink might be when a group leader tells everyone to ban a particular ethnic group, and the group members accept the decision without question, right? And a beautiful example of that is the elder apostle going into when Christians come up to the camps that you're basically don't deal with them. And that would be, and we followed that without question, man, right? That would be considered groupthink or group thinking in this type, and based on that example. And that's not a bad thing, as long as the group that you're following is keeping the doctrine of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and they're not going off, which our elders, they're not. Now we're gonna grab a precept real quick, right? Right. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 8, verse 8. Despise not the discourse of the wise. Be acquainted, but acquaint thyself with their proverbs. For of them thou shalt learn instruction and how to serve great men with ease. Right? So as long as your elders are teaching you according to the scriptures, the 100% truth that I believe the men of GMS have, right? So if they put forth an order, we're going to follow that, no question, man. We're not going to go against it, because through them we learn instruction, and through the doctrine we learn how to serve great men. Now, what the man was going over in the beginning is groupthink, and he was going into basically we need to be more individual, and that's not the truth, right? We need to follow Yahweh Shai. We need to be more like Yahweh Shai. He's our example. So we're not gonna be independent thinkers, man, because we're following the ways of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And if you want to be 100% truth, we're controlled by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. So we're not fucking self thinkers. It's not a thing, right? And we're considered sheep, right? This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, verse 17. Israel is a scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away. First, the king of Assyria hath devoured him, and last, this Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, have broken his bones. So Israel is a scattered sheep. We're sheep. And sheep do what? They follow the shepherd. So there's nothing wrong with, group mentality is not a bad thing. It can be a bad thing if you use it incorrectly and you're following, a devil, and you're following someone that's blind, because the scriptures say what? If the blind lead the blind, they both shall fall in the ditch. So it's all about, how you look at it, right? And we're going to grab another precept. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 15, verse 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Israel are considered sheep, man. They're followers. We just got to make sure we have the right shepherd, right? And Yahweh have set shepherds that are over us, and we believe them to be our elders. They're the ones that's gonna, that's gonna be looking after the flock, right? Because they're supposed to be feeding us, and they are. This is the book of John, chapter 21, verse 17. He saith unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved because he said unto him the third time. Now, Yahushua asked him this question 3 times. Lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Master, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Yahushua saith unto him, feed my sheep. And that's what our elders are doing, man. So when they put forth the order, yeah, we're going to follow that without question. Because we believe that these men were placed above us by Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai. And if you want to be honest, there's no self-thinkers and no people that's going off, right? Are going against what the elders are saying. Because we got this, the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 3. Can two walk together except they be agreed? So this herd mentality, or whatever mentality you said, that's not going against anything, man. It is definitely not going against the scriptures, right? Because if you're being honest, you're not to go against these men, because Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua has put these men in charge, right? And remember what it said. We learn to serve great men. Now let's get another precept, man. This is the book of Mark, chapter 3, verse 25. If a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. If everyone's sitting here trying to be individuals and going against the grain, that house is not going to stand, man. Right? And the elders are not going to put up with that. If you can't get in line and get in order, you got to get the fuck out of here. Because you're gonna stir up strife, man. Right? And we got the book of Romans, chapter 16, verse 17. Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions. Mark those people who want to go off and do solo things and offenses contrary to the doctrine, right? Because this is that's our guide, the doctrine, which ye have learned, and avoid them. Point blank in the period, man. That sheep mentality is going to be a thing here, especially here in these last days, as long as your shepherds are those shepherds that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua have put in place. All right, and we're going to jump right back into some more.
Because let's keep it a stack real quick. Black people are emotional first by default, especially black women. And our feelings not being hurt is more important than any fucking thing else on the planet.
Especially the so-called black woman, man. Straight, they deal with only emotions, man. And it's not just them, it's all Jake women. They deal with emotions, man. And that's because they're the weaker vessel, according to scripture. And let's grab that precept. This is the book of 1 Peter, chapter 3, verse 7. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, right? And that's weaker in a sense, not just physically, but mentally, right? And as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. So, and then a lot of women are not going to like that, but hey, it is what it is. And the reason you don't understand this, right? That you're not only weaker physically, but mentally. Let's get this. How are you weaker mentally, right? Right? We're going to get to the book of Job, chapter 39, verse 17. Because power hath deprived her of wisdom, neither hath he imparted to her understanding. Right? And that's why women lean on their emotions most of the time, man. That's why they do that. Right, let's get some more of this video.
Everything that's wrong with us as a people stems from that. You don't believe me? Everything from how we cope with everything using escapism to avoid reality. And instead of actually dealing with our problems, we tell jokes, we drink, we smoke, engage in reckless sexual behavior, or our constant need to be entertained all the time. Even in our religious services,
God.
Just look at our churches. They're literally concerts. And God forbid we discuss God's will. Now we're being accused of being hateful and judgmental.
God, he's right. He's right, man. And that goes back. What do you say? And then and God forbid we talk about God's will, because then we get labeled as what? As being judgmental, right? Let's lock in, look for a precept. Right? Got it right here. All right. Hey, we got the book of Galatians, chapter 4, verse 16. Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? Right? And that's what we have become to Jake, man. We've become their enemies. They are our enemies, our own people. That was 2/3, but those are the 2/3, man. They're already destined for destruction because they gotta perish on this side. They have to, in order to be reborn in the right mindset in the kingdom, man. And that's because Yahweh ordained it that way. Right? But we become their enemy in telling them the truth, because what do they want to hear? Right? Now, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 9, that this is a rebellious people, lying children, children that will not hear the law of Yahweh. Right? Verse 10, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceits. And that's what they want to hear. They don't want to hear that they sinning. They don't want to hear that shit. That's why they so quick to cast away the law, so they don't have to feel guilty. They don't have to feel that conviction. They much rather you prophesy to them deceit so they can continue to stay in their sins and doing the bullshit that they do on a regular basis. Now, Salakia, I'm gonna go back some on the video, man, because he touched on something that I wanted to go into, right?
Black people are emotional first by default, especially black women. And our feelings not being hurt is more important than any fucking thing else on the planet. Everything that's wrong with us as a people stems from that.
Yeah, it actually comes from Yahweh Bashem Yahushua putting us in that type of mindset. But what was the main effect, man? That the women are actually, they're put in a place of power right now, man. This is a queendom. Let's get that in the scriptures, man. Let's prove it. Right? This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31, verse 22. How long wilt thou go about, O thou backsliding daughter? For Yahweh hath created a new thing in the earth. A woman shall compass a man. And that's why the women are out. They're leading the houses now. They're making more money than the men out here, man. This is something that Yahweh, that he brought forth, man. And it was mainly so he could fully destroy. It's mainly a part of our destruction that he caused to come upon us. Right? According to the curses, let's grab it. Right? This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which Yahweh shall send against thee, which Yahweh shall send against you. He caused this to happen in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Now, with that being said, watch this. I'm going to grab something, man, from the Willie Lynch letter. I'm going to grab it. Now, this is the excerpt from the Willie Lynch letter from the section, Let's Make a Slave, right? Completely break the female horse until she becomes very gentle, whereas you or anybody can ride her in comfort. Breed the mare and the stud until you have the desired offspring. Then you can turn the stud to freedom until you need him again. Train the female horse whereby she will eat out of your hand, and she will in turn train the infant horse to eat out of your hand also. When it comes to break the uncivilized, ninja, that's what that word is that I scratched out, use the same process, but vary in degree and step up the pressure so as to do a complete reversal of the mind. It gets no clearer than that. And what did the scripture say? Let's go back a verse. Salakia. Gotta find where I was at. Right? It goes back to Jeremiah 31:22. Right? I will create a new thing in the earth. A woman shall compass a man. And this was a part of our destruction as well. In Jeremiah. I mean, in Salakia, in Deuteronomy. But a woman shall compass a man. And it started a lot. I'm not gonna say it started, but some of that shows in the Willie Lynch letter and how they decided to enslave, right? And just like the Willie Lynch letter said, Esau Edom has caused a woman to make a complete reversal of her role, right? And she has not broken that cycle yet. That's why Eve does the things that she do today, man. Try to control the household, try to run everything, and then she demonizes the men every chance she gets. That's what she does, man. And that's what's going to continue to happen because of these curses, right? And we can grab another precept to go with that, man. It's like, give me a second. Boom, we got the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 56. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and for tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, Jake men, and toward her son and toward her daughter. That's what's happening, man. Esau Edom taught Eve to demonize their own men, and they continue it to this very day. But black man ain't shit. That whole black man ain't shit doctrine. Right? And let's get back into a little more of the video, man.
And God forbid we discuss God's will. Now we're being accused of being hateful and judgmental. But we never want to deal with anything head on. Or black people's sick desire to be validated by white society.
Nah, I'm straight.
Which is the mindset that created the cookout. And there's plenty of black people who love handing out honorary black cards to make non-black people who appropriate our culture and vernacular feel welcome.
Hey, and what's that going back to? What is that going back to? Salakia, look for a precept. Right? Got it. Jake always looking to be accepted by Esau Edom, man. And they wanted to be accepted by Esau Edom in the past, right? This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 11. In those days went out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. That's what Jake always wants to do, man, is to go and be hand in hand with the heathen. And in doing so, you're gonna reap the same punishment, man. You're gonna, that's those 2/3. You're gonna be dealt with right along with the fucking heathen. Let's jump back in.
Makes it worse is we even allow outsiders to feel so welcome in our space and even have a voice over actual black people, something that we don't see in any other demographic. And if we're being honest, white validation was the reason why black women had no smoke for white men after the election, but had all the smoke for black men, despite 80% of black men voting for Harris.
Say what now?
Hey, that's true. We were the elders and the prophets, the apostles, the Akim, all of them were saying that, man. I think it was like 80% of black men voted for Kamala. 90% of black women voted for Kamala. And that wasn't good. That 80% wasn't good enough for black women. It wasn't good enough. And they still blamed black men. But that goes back to the curses. That goes right back. Let's grab it again, because that goes right back to it, man. Right? Deuteronomy 28:56. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set her sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter. Eve lost their mind and talked about how much they hated Jake. They blamed Jake for the whole situation, man. Absolutely going for Jake's throat. Jump back in it.
And now those brothers are regretting that decision.
Fuck yeah, they regret it.
All the way down to the thousands of black men in prison today for being emotional and making stupid decisions.
Gone. Because the scripture says what? Those men in prison, it says, be ye angry and sin not. And a lot of those men that are in prison, they acted out in violence, you know? They acted out in emotions. Why? Because they were raised by women. So they were raised to be emotional when they should have been raised by men. But what did Esau's system do? Esau's system put the children with the women so that he can keep his perpetual bullshit going. The same shit he started with the Willie Lynch letter, he's still doing it today with the whole justice system when it comes to children. The children are automatically guaranteed to go to the mother over the father all the fucking time. And then we end up with a bunch of fucking men who are emotional and they get to unaliving everybody, and then they end up in prison.
And one reason behind that is because in the black community, something we don't talk about, a lot of us as children were taught to be seen and not heard, or we got punished for it. And that's why a lot of us struggle today communicating our emotions now, because of how we were brought up.
God.
So many of us have these subconscious defense mechanisms and trauma responses that end up being toxic traits that affect our personal relationships in the long run.
And this is for Jake and for Eve, man. What does the scriptures tell us when dealing with our children, man? What does it tell us? Let's get it. Because a lot of Jake, you got a lot of explaining to do, man, because you're guilty of it. Even myself, you know, because of the way I was raised, right? And that's not an excuse for myself, man. That's a correction to myself. This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 4. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition, admonition of Yahweh. Provoke not your children to wrath, man. I grew up in a household like that, dude, where I was constantly provoked to wrath. And it caused me to feel some kind of way towards my parents. And then I was in and out of foster care. So that created even more problems. And I was raised by a single woman, a single mother. Right? Let's get back on it. Dude he's speaking the truth, man.
And a lot of relationships don't work in our community because a lot of black children weren't raised with any conflict resolution skills.
Why? Why weren't they? Why? Because a lot of women, you don't have accountability. You have accountability issues, man. You can point out what someone else does wrong, but when it comes to you doing, someone pointing out what you do wrong, you got a problem with that. The lack of accountability, man. And then these men were raised by these women who had these issues, and then what? They have these issues now. They got accountability issues. That's why you got people screaming stupid shit like "Free my ninja Pookie," and he's in prison for like a triple homicide, man.
Never had a voice as kids. We just heard yelling. Never had things explained to us. Plus, the adults never apologized to us when they were wrong.
That goes back to provoke your children. Don't provoking not your children to wrath, man. If you're wrong, right, as a parent, man, as a father, as a mother, if you're wrong, you should be able to openly admit that to your kids when you go off, man. Because you have to openly admit it to your father that's in heaven. So you just go ahead and admit it to your children. Like, look, I was tripping. I fell off. I should not have done that. I was wrong. Because when you don't do that, then you're gonna start a perpetual cycle. then your kids are not going to be able to, they're going to be doing the same shit you do, man. When they're wrong, they're not going to ever accept it. They're going to be like, nah. See, because when my mom was wrong, when my dad was wrong, they didn't accept this shit. They're going to grow up with some unaccountable assholes, man.
To our adult relationships. It's just learned behavior. We can unlearn it if we choose to, but it's something we have to be aware of and not let it control us, so that we can pay attention to facts first before making any type of decision.
God.
And we also need to be aware of people using our emotions against us, because the people who actually hate us, yeah, they studied us for 400 years and know how emotional we are.
Nah, they didn't study us. They instilled it in us, man. It goes back to until he have destroyed thee. It didn't say until he might destroy thee. It said until he have destroyed thee. And we're destroyed, man. And he instilled all this bullshit within Jake and Eve. And how do you get free from this shit, man? How you get free from it? Let's get that. Salakia, grabbing a precept. Right? Got it right here. This is the book of John, chapter 8, verse 32. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. You're going to come into this wisdom, this knowledge, this understanding. You're going to understand what you're supposed to do as a parent. You're going to understand how you're supposed to raise your kids. You're going to understand how you're supposed to keep the laws of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai and keep the faith. You're going to understand these things, and you're going to be free. Not free as a sense of like, come on, let's not get simple. Free as in a sense of if you having that understanding and you having that knowledge to understand that this is only temporary, man. Right? We're going to wrap this up. I think it's almost finished, man.
On top of that, they know how easy it is to manipulate an emotional person. That's why the Democratic Party panders to black people the way they do. That's why they come to us right now with fried chicken and watermelon, show up to our churches to take pictures, and make promises they don't keep. Yet we keep allowing them to do it. And as a result, they don't have to waste any money investing in our communities because we always vote blue no matter who, right?
You really don't.
Then there's
who the fuck you vote for, to be honest. It doesn't really matter, man. Whether you vote red, whether you vote blue, none of that shit matters. They're going to put in house who they want to put in house. I wish ninjas would wake up and realize that your vote don't fucking matter. It never has and it never will.
Thinking. And sadly, we as black people have a herd-like cult mentality. And identity politics only encourages that psychosis even more, which is a fundamental flaw in the pro-black ideology.
You know, and there's that cult. He used that word cult, right? Look, cult just means a group that you disagree with. That's a cult. So you can call any group that you disagree with a cult. So we got to stop using that word, because that word is just a word to demonize. That's really it. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything bad either. Right? And we can grab it. We can grab a definition real quick so I'm not just speaking. Right? We got a cult. This is the etymology from etymology.com. In the 1600s, worship, homage, a particular form of system of worship. That's all it is, man. Cultivation, culture, worship, reverence, right? And you drop down. If you look, cult, an organized group of people, Salakia, religious or not, with whom you disagree. That's bullshit, man. All you got to do is disagree with them for them to be considered a cult. And that's bullshit, man. Stop demonizing. Let's get back to it. Thought it was almost over, is it?
You know how they love to move the goalpost on what it means to be black, and they always base it off what black women like and dislike, with no regard whatsoever for what that individual black person may like or dislike.
Boom. That goes back to this being a queendom, man. It's all based on a woman. It's all based on a woman, and we know that women are led by their emotions. So this is just one big ass mess. One big ass queendom that's a fucking mess.
Which is very hypocritical considering how it's anti-black to be against the LGBT or black women, but hating black men is completely acceptable.
So, and that's facts, man. Most people don't realize the BLM, they basically created that to draw people to the LGBTQ, whatever the alphabet community. They use that to draw people to that, man. So that shit really has nothing to do with Black lives. That you just fell, black people just fell for it.
But that's a topic for another day. But group thinking, that also comes from our upbringing as well. Because in most black families, independent thought isn't encouraged at all. When a child thinks differently than their parents, it's considered defiant to a point. So we're taught.
First of all, a child is, in their parents' household, they are under their parents' rulership, man. So there's no independent thinking for no child, man. Right? And if those parents are going by the order of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, there's nothing wrong with that. For that kid being under that order. Because that's how it's supposed to be. Right? And that's all I got. It's about to go. I'm pretty sure it's about to end. If not, you can go and check it out. Hey, and that's all I have for you right now. And with that, Shalom.